see. I forgot a small detail. Thanks for reminding me of this. Okay, I just started the recording. Just a second, please. It's recording now. Okay, great. Okay, where are the links? Here above in the chat box. Okay, but I will share them. I will share the one for the feedback again at the end. Now, I would like to share the link for the activity that I want you to do now, okay, with you, okay? Just a second, I will paste it in the chat box. Okay, so here you are. There's a Padlet there, okay, Padlet board. Are you familiar with Padlet? Please go to the reactions. You can't see the links. Can anyone see the links at all? Yes, okay, great. I see that if you want to do as Ruth and Monica are doing, go to reactions at the bottom of the screen, hover over the bottom of the screen, and then you'll see reactions, the control board, reactions, and you can tell me whether it's, yes, I know this tool, good. Okay, so let's go to Padlet now. What I would like you to do, I will share the screen again, okay? Oh, someone has, we have advanced participants here. They have started to respond, and that is great. This is a community building activity, okay? I want to know who I'm talking to here, who is here in the same room with us, the same virtual room. So what I would like you to do is to click on the plus button if you're not familiar with this, okay? Click on the plus button. In the title, write your name as I did. As you can see, when doing an activity with students, it's important to do modeling. In online learning, always write instructions very clearly. In the yellow post, you can find instructions. In the other one, you can find an example. Okay, so write your name, and then where it says write something, just write a sentence about you or about a picture that you can upload if you feel brave enough, if you feel that you can do it, if you know how to do it. Some people may be pros here. Okay, I don't assume anything, of course. So go to the 3 points here at the bottom of the post and click on upload, and then upload a picture from your computer, okay? Illustrating who you are, illustrating how you feel about the upcoming year, as I did, okay? As I see it, this year will be filled with a sea of opportunities for learning and growth. Lots of challenges ahead of us, but also lots and lots and lots of opportunities. So any
Susan, did you send the Padlet URL?
Yes, in the chat box, yes, but if you don't have it, go to, just type this in, go to Chrome, okay, and type in bit.ly, okay, that's this has shortened the URL so as to be able to say it out loud, okay, bit.ly/ and then free, small g, capital U, capital P, 039. Oh, I see Howie here. I know him. Great. Okay, if you have any difficulty, please let me know. You can unmute your microphone and ask me a question as a participant just did. Okay, so I'll go to the platform and see what's happening. Okay. Okay, this was the example. So I just, oh, you see, the page has been refreshed, and now we have lots of posts here. So Elaine from Amiat, from the north. Siwar from Rama. Maha is from Nazrat. Why drama? Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Lori, this image speaks for itself. Distance learning for me is stressful and challenging at the same time. Oh, yeah, it surely does. Great picture. You just found it, or you have used it already? You can unmute your microphone if you want to comment on this. Okay.
Yeah, it was from one of the hishtalmuyot I gave. It was one of the images that a teacher uploaded that I could relate to.
Okay, this is wonderful indeed. Okay, Mai from Natzrat. This year is the year of the unknown. Yes. Okay. Efrat, I am a junior high English coordinator in the Rab Khumi, Begin Tzfat. Okay. Eileen from Kibbutz Ganya Aleph. Ruth from Kiryat Bialik. Oh, so you're my neighbor. I included a photo from, do I know you at all? I don't think so. I included a photo from last year's Rosh Hashanah, and I'm really hoping, oh, this has been refreshed. It will be a good and healthy year, hopefully so, and that we will be able to celebrate with family. Okay. Raneen from Natzrat, I have been in Georgia. Okay, it was an amazing trip filled with many challenges and new people to be friends with. Debbie, lead teacher, English teacher, and coordinator of Hebron. So, okay. Now, okay, this is really nice. Now I know who is here in the room. And Howie, how are you, Howie? Work in the Ministry of Education. We know each other.
Good, I'm good in you.
It's good to see you here nationally and in Jerusalem. Yes. And it's so good to be with so many people from the north, isn't it? Hulud. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so this is an activity that you can do for the beginning of the year, okay, to build community, to loosen up a little bit, to create a relaxing atmosphere at the beginning and start connecting. That's what we need to focus on at the beginning of the year. So we'll go back to it later. You can go back to it later, finish it. But we'll now move on. The idea was to just get to know each other a little bit. Unfortunately, we don't have much time for more, and modeling so that you'll get some ideas. So we are all familiar with the modalities for this.
Correct group.
Sorry? Did anyone want to ask anything? Okay, so we'll mute all microphones with your permission. Okay, now Lori asked a question here. Are you using wall format on Padlet? Here I used the grid format, if I remember well, yes. No, it's the wall format, yes, that's the wall format. But I also do this activity with the storyline format, so that, you know, you'll have one post next to the other, and then you won't be missing posts at all, okay? You will have the possibility to see all of them. You ever put the instructions in the description bar under the title? How do the students negotiate the link on Padlet? Where they say, okay, now the instructions are everywhere, okay? I say them out loud as I did here. I always write a post with the instructions as you did. The post is in is the yellow one, okay? And also under the title, okay? You know, they need to see them everywhere, and they need to be very concise and clear. And how do I write and the link is copied in the chat box, but I will talk about this actually later when talking about the platform that you need, the home that you need for the whole year. You cannot be sending links all the time. Okay, do you think we need to first teach the kids about each? Okay, yes. So listen, I will make progress a little bit, and if you don't get answers to these questions, because I believe that you will, okay, then you can stop me in a few minutes and I will answer the questions. I will expand on what I will be saying now, okay? Now, so what I wanted to say is that we're all familiar with the fact that there is asynchronous and synchronous learning, but many people, and everywhere people talk about Zoom, they connect distance learning with Zoom. However, distance learning is a lot more than Zoom, and it's all about knowing how to balance both modalities, okay? A flexible and blended approach is what needs to be adopted. We need to know, first of all, we need to focus on the goals. What do we want to do? If we want our students to acquire new knowledge, we don't need to lecture them, to give long lectures in class. We can record ourselves, send it to them, and they have the possibility to stop the video, learn it at their own pace. And this also allows for personalized learning, for formative assessment. They can continue collaborating throughout the week. They don't need to meet in order to collaborate on a project. They can continue adding ideas, and you can engage them in meaningful discussions in asynchronous. I'm talking about asynchronous learning, okay? Not homework. It is much more than homework, okay? Not just one task. It can replace the synchronous session, okay? You can decide to have it. After all, students will be sitting in front of computers for many hours, and that's not what should happen, okay? This needs to be balanced. Also, mostly in order to achieve our pedagogical goals in an effective way, and also take it into consideration that it's not normal to be sitting in front of the computer for long hours. Synchronous learning, what is it for? To establish connections. As I said before, and we started by building, only the beginning, okay? Spend the first few weeks building connections, strengthening connections. Synchronous learning, just like face-to-face meetings, okay? If you have the possibility to engage in hybrid learning and meet your students once or twice a week, then those face-to-face meetings should be devoted to strengthening connections. Deepening of understanding. Students read the text at home, they answer questions, they get feedback, you get an idea, you monitor their work, you get an idea of what the problems are, what stands out, what points you want to focus on. When you go back, when you meet in synchronous sessions, and then you can work on the HOTS. You can upgrade, you can take the discussion into a higher level. Practice of oral skills. This is fantastic. We have a great opportunity now for students to work in breakout rooms, in pairs. You can visit, you can go and join the different rooms and coach them, and they are in an intimate environment, and also when participating in class. For real-time collaboration and coaching, again, and small group instruction. If students, if you have a heterogeneous group, you can give asynchronous work to advanced learners and work with students that have difficulties in synchronous meetings. So I didn't say, I think at the beginning that, I did, that I worked at the Virtual High School of Israel, and these are the challenges that I found. Actually, at the beginning, lack of human touch or face-to-face contact. I found it very difficult to deal, for example, with students that got distracted, with the discipline problems. They wouldn't respond to my mails. How could I, or to my calls? So this is really a problem that needs to be addressed. Students' self-awareness and feeling of discomfort. You see that here we have the possibility to see only 4 pictures, approximately four images at a time, not more. And then if we want to see more, we need to roll this down, okay, all the images. It's not easy, and they see themselves. They don't only see the others, they see themselves. And this is very intimidating, especially for teenagers. Limited use of body language and eye contact. As I said before, disruptions and distractions. They need to know, students need to, at the beginning also, time should be devoted to discussing the conditions that are needed for effective learning. They need to find a place, if possible, since there will be a few brothers and sisters sharing computers, sharing the room, okay, but they need to be aware of the fact that they need to find a place where they are not distracted. For some students, for the students in the virtual school, actually these students with learning disabilities, this worked much better than the face-to-face lessons actually, because they could be focused on, they could focus on the screen, and they would be in their room, okay, and they would pay attention, much more attention than when they are in class and they are distracted by what's going on around them. Wow. So what I would like to know now, since we have got to, I have already got some, I have already learned a little bit about you, who you are, where you are from. So what I would like to know now, so that we'll continue building knowledge together, is to what extent you feel ready to cope with distance learning. I want to know who is in my audience, whether I'm speaking to people who are pros, people that have learned a lot, that still need a lot of learning, have learned and still need a lot of learning, to do a lot of learning, or that they feel that they are at a loss. What am I going to do this year? So go to menti.com, go to your browser, okay, to the Chrome browser, and type in menti.com and use this code 599851. If you have any question or any problem, please let me know. Oh, okay, great. We have answers already. Okay, in the middle. That's logical after all. That seems to be logical to me. For some reason, I have a problem. I cannot open the chat box. So if you ask the question in the chat box, you can unmute your microphone and ask it to me, okay? Since I have a problem to open the chat box now that I am sharing this screen. Oh, one of you is a pro. Okay, maybe Howie. Have learned a lot.
But it's anonymous, so you don't know.
That's right, exactly. That's the whole point about this, exactly. Okay, those are the added values of using this.
Can you give us the number once again for the Mentimeter?
If I can give you what?
The number of the Mentimeter.
Here, you can see it in the screen. What's good about this is that I'm sharing the screen now. I said it out loud once, okay? It was in my presentation, but now I'm sharing the screen of the platform itself, and you can see it at the top of the screen. Go to menti.com. This is what's so beautiful about Mentimeter. It's so user-friendly, okay? So, and as Howie said, it's anonymous, which can be an advantage. Again, you need to see what your goals are, and then see which tool. You need to see what it's important for us to evaluate what we can do with the tool and what we cannot do, whether we want all students to see all answers or not, okay, where visibility or not. Can have learned a lot, okay, need a lot of learning. Okay, so thank you. This is very useful information for me. Okay, 7, okay, and for us all to know who we are together with in the room. Okay, there are 29 participants here. 8, 7. If there's someone who doesn't know how to do it, please ask me how to do it. Okay, how to respond to this question.
Susanna, I think that we need the can-dos in the curriculum. We need a global can-do, and then we need an operative. What do we need to do?
You mean how to create a Menti activity, or how to?
No, I'm talking about distance learning and the way that we will need to work this year. It's like we need to look for something very specific to teach that can be the operative can do, and the global and the operative, the activity that we are going to create for our pupils.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on so that you'll get ideas on what you just mentioned, okay? But before we do that, just again, I want to emphasize how important this is, social presence in computer mediated communication. It is important to build community, to have students, to engage students. In order to engage students in the learning, they need to feel that they're real members of a community in social and emotional ways. How can you do it? By keeping eye contact with them, by creating a relaxed and caring atmosphere, by explaining rules for effective participation, as I said before, encouraging reactions every now and then, checking pulse, okay, with activities of this sort, Mentimeter, chat box, etc. Okay, and there should be norms so that they would respect each other, okay, and they would listen to each other. Also, keeping in touch, which is difficult. So what I suggest is to set times for consultation, okay? Build community for an accompanying site. And this is in answer to the question I got before, how I share the links. Actually, this is a talk, okay? It's different from a lesson. When getting ready for the upcoming year, what you need to give a thought is how you're going to make all the contents accessible. So in a few minutes, we'll talk about that, okay? And providing opportunities for authenticity. Here's an example of what I did at the virtual high school. As I said before, I wanted to create a more relaxing atmosphere. The students were very, very shy. They would not participate, and they had difficulties understanding grammar structures. So I said, okay, here's an opportunity for authenticity. In the WhatsApp group that we had, what I told them to do is to upload pictures that illustrate the tense that we had, situations with the tense that we had learned lately. So for example, this is a picture that was uploaded in the WhatsApp group, and students had a lot of fun indeed. They were talking about real life situations. They were using grammar structures, and this was an opportunity for authenticity, for authentic learning. So as I said before, at the beginning of the year, start with community building activities and gradual familiarization of the virtual learning environment, what you're going to use, and 2 to 4 basic tools. Keep it simple at the beginning, okay? These are the main characteristics of effective distance learning. As I said before, careful planning, relevancy, community building, personalized learning, and timely feedback. So let's pass on to, yes? Any questions so far on what I have shared so far? Okay, so I will mute the microphones again. Okay, thank you. There is a spelling mistake on the slide. Where? Thank you. I don't know. It's yes, that's the student. Yes. Okay, that's that was posted by the student. It's really authentic, as I said before. Okay, but as you know, we as teachers will always be teachers. So let's now. This is really the example posted by the student. That's actually something that needs to be addressed to. What do we do with mistakes of that sort? Okay, what do we do with mistakes on WhatsApp group? How do we address them? But we won't get into that today. Otherwise, we won't have time for what I have planned. But that's it. But that's food for thought, definitely. Okay. So planning and design, which is so important. And here's what I wanted to discuss before. Okay, there are 3 main elements at our disposal. Okay, one that we need to have at our disposal. One of them is the video conferencing platform, the Zoom platform, Teams, Hangouts, Meet, whatever you're using in your schools, okay? An accompanying site or LMS. This is very important since we are gearing up for effective distance learning at least for the first half of the year, okay? So we need accessibility. You cannot be sending links by mail all the time. And students need a home, and they need a home for the community, for the community of learners, for access also. So what I do is I create Google Sites, which is very user-friendly, but I do recommend you to use Google Classroom, which is also very user-friendly. Can you share what you use in your schools, if you have already used any of any platform of this sort, any site? I know some of my students at Seminar Kibbutzim use simply, they prepare a Google Slides presentation, and they always add the links in those, they share the presentations with the students, and they can open the links in advance. Okay, so if anyone wants to share one idea of what is being used in his or her school, that would be really nice. Okay, Zoom and Classroom, and upload Google Docs on, wait a second. And Google Docs, okay, yes, you can have one Google Doc for the whole year. That's fantastic, actually. One Google Doc for the whole year, and for each week, you post the links for each week, or the codes, okay, of the activities that are going to be used. Mashov, Classroom, definitely, okay, yafeh. But this needs to be given a thought. It's very, very important, okay? We're not talking about one lesson, 2 lessons. We're talking about getting ready for a few months of distance learning, or a full year of distance learning. And then you have digital tools that you will use for engagement and collaboration. As I said before, try to keep it simple at the beginning, not to overwhelm them. Try to balance familiarity with variety. But familiarity is very important, and especially at the beginning. Get them ready for, get them familiar with what, with 2 to 4 basic tools that you're going to use. Kind of like a digital notebook, okay, Zoom and Classroom, and upload Google Docs, fantastic. Okay, so you're well aware of this, so let's continue. Now, what is the teacher's role in online learning? We're both facilitators and designers, okay? It's very important to understand that that students should be engaged in the lessons. We are there to guide them, to facilitate the peer-to-peer discussions, which is fantastic for EFL teaching, of course, to provide clear expectations. By the way, one of the favorite features that I discovered back then was the breakout rooms, which was fantastic for oral practice. And as designers, we need to be aware of the added values that tools have. There's a lot of talk about tools. The talk should be focused on the goals. What do we want to achieve? How do we want to scaffold the learning? Okay? This is what the tools are for, to scaffold the learning, to facilitate the learning, to enhance it. So the tools can make contents accessible, like the platforms we just talked about, Google Classroom, Google Sites, Mashov, okay? Make think invisible, like Mentimeter did for us, okay? I could see how ready, to what extent you're ready for the upcoming year. Promote autonomous lifelong learning. If I send, for example, an interactive presentation with like Nearpod or Peer Deck for self-paced learning, then students will be studying at their own pace at home. These are PPTs that with questions that can be embedded in the presentations themselves. Peer Deck is really very cute, and then there's Nearpod, which is also very highly recommended. Help students learn from each other for collaboration, Google Docs. So the design should be for a clear structure and flow of activities, refresh stations every now and then, as we had with the Padlet, with the Mentimeter, okay? Flexibility. this is a keyword here, okay? Making use of critical thinking skills to make the right decisions, how to balance asynchronous with synchronous, multimodality, and interaction with real people, as I said before. Now, I see that there's a question here, so we'll take it first before I continue. Okay, I cannot open the chat box now for some reason. Can you say it out loud? Or I will take a look at it later, okay? If it's okay with whoever had that question, okay, we'll take a look at it later. So here's a model for distance learning. I'm going to share with you two models. One of you, and this emphasizes the importance for structure. This is also something that I understood very quickly, okay, when teaching at the virtual high school. I needed a structure. Students needed a structure too, okay? So at the beginning, always start with pulse checking and an introduction, again, for connection, social presence. They need this. This is very, very important. There's a lot of talk about social emotional learning. In order to, there are very high dropout rates in distance learning, by the way, and they are mostly due to the lack of, or to the failure to create social presence. So this is something to be taken into account. An entry ticket, okay, or a question with Mentimeter to create interest, word cloud. Then new learning material with active listening, okay, as I'm trying to do now every now and then. And then you can have them implement the main goal of the lesson is in breakout rooms and wrap up. Or number two could be done already in advance asynchronously. We don't need to be talking here for hours and then they can get a recording, watch it at their own pace, as I said before, okay? Or they can get it an interactive presentation, and then you can focus on the HOTS in class, okay? But always start with pulse checking, relevancy, introduction. And then we have the opportunity to have them do individual, peer, or group work in the breakout rooms. And not individual wouldn't be done in the breakout rooms. In a few minutes, I will give an example with that. So, okay, we'll skip this since we have already used the participant feature. We haven't. Do you all know how to use the participant feature here? Say yes. You can click on yes, click on hover over the bottom of the screen. Yes, Debbie has said yes. So for the ones who don't know, okay, you will find the control panel at the bottom of your page, then click on participants, a window will open up, and you can click on yes and use it in class with your students. Okay, Johanna said no. Okay, good. And Laurie, yes, fantastic. Okay, thank you. And now I will clear all answers, okay, in order to continue. And now I can see the question, what is simply a shared Google Doc. I see that you are responding to each other, and that's great, okay? This is the power of the community, okay? The teacher is not the only source of information. Students encourage students to interact, to respond to each other, but then, of course, every now and then, check the chat box and see what's going on there, okay? So we can verify that the right answers were given, okay? Simply a shared Google Doc that you can have for each student that is shared between you and that student. Fantastic. Okay, so some inspiration, some ideas. These are the, you are already familiar with Zoom features, but there is one which I'm not sure you're all familiar with, which is the annotation feature, which is really good for literature. But again, you need to be very careful with the way it is used students need to be introduced to a new culture of learning. You're already engaging in a new culture of introducing a new culture of teaching, but they also need to understand what the norms are, especially when building community, to respect each other. So this is something that needs to be introduced gradually. Now, please go to, as the arrows indicate here, go to the upper part of the screen, click on View Options, then click on Annotate, and choose and then add a heart. Let's add love to this page, to the road not taken. Okay, let's see if you can find that if you can find the Annotate feature. Wonderful. You can add a heart next to the word that is your favorite one, your favorite line here in the poem. Hi, yes, you can also write, you can do lots of things here. Okay, you can ask them, you can use this for reading comprehension. Okay, you can ask them to share, to circle verbs in the past tense. Lori, okay, Lori is here. Wonderful. Okay, now I will just clear all the answers now. Just a second, please. Okay, just a second. Oops. Okay, so breakout rooms. I believe that there's not much to be said about this. This was the star of the second part of the year, as people discovered the wonderful features that Zoom has to offer. Now everyone is trying to upgrade the game. Google Meet, I know that Google Meet will now have breakout rooms too. Annotation can be messy with young learners, definitely, and that's why I talked about introducing this gradually, if it's possible at all, unless the group is a small one, maximum 4 to 6, even 10, okay? I did it with 12 students, okay? But if you have a large class, then again, you need to know this could be introduced at a later stage in the year. And at the beginning, I would actually go to the general settings and deactivate it. I would not keep this active, but I want you to be aware of this. If you feel comfortable enough with your group, if you feel that throughout the year you get them used to this new culture of learning and you can use it, then it's a wonderful tool, a wonderful feature. Okay, with older learners too, you feel so, Debbie? Why do you feel that with older learners? They could be playful indeed, okay? Yeah, they could be mean, so we need to be careful, definitely. Okay, better apps that have, okay, yes. Okay, definitely, this is a point to be taken into account. Okay, so here's an example of what can be done. This is an activity that I did for the virtual school. I used the same Word document for the whole year, okay? And I would create a new table every time for students to pick, they would pick a word from the text that we were going to read, and they would own it. They would become the experts in that word. There were columns for them to fill in an example, a definition, the translation, and a picture. We talked about multimodality, right? So as you can see, this was the pool of words, number 3. They would build knowledge together. I see that you're writing in the chat box and it's difficult to follow. Love this. Oh, great. Thank you, Debbie. I loved it too. You know, I found it very useful. You want to say something? Somebody?
Yeah, just a suggestion. If you have somebody who's a co-host with you that's in charge of keeping an eye on the chat.
That's the problem here in this Kenneth, okay? That there's no one here. That's
sorry,
only
Susan.
me.
Susan, can you go back to the previous slide, please? It was an interesting table.
Yes. Anyway,
it's a sharing table.
Yes. Anyway, remember that you will have this presentation. I will share the PPT with you, okay? This is not going away. You're going to have the PPT and you're going to have the recording, okay? So,
okay, thanks.
Okay, so here you can build knowledge. You can have students build their vocabulary together as a group, as a community, which is what we want to achieve, okay? A community of learners throughout the year, okay? Okay, here's another example of how to build vocabulary together with Genially. Genially is a fantastic tool. I will share with you what I did with my students at Seminar Kibbutzim this year, okay, who are actually going to be future teachers. So there's a lot of modeling. What we do can be used in their classes. And this is what they did. They added, actually this was part of a virtual exchange with America. So we picked 3 pictures, one for the 2 groups, okay? Another one with, another picture that we picked. So, and then there's the cultural element here. They learn about us. And one that they picked, okay? As you can see, they picked something which was relevant then. There were all these protests just like a couple of months ago, okay? And their lecturer couldn't ignore this, of course. And that's important. It's important to make the learning relevant as possible. So what did they do here? They added hotspots. Genially is a fantastic tool for interactive images. I shared the link with them, that's all. They don't need an account. And then I asked them, add a word that you associate with this picture, okay? And they could add more than a word, okay? I talked about multimodality. This is actually, by the way, the example I gave, modeling, always modeling, that's very important. You are part of the community too, okay? I added a song here, okay? And here you can see for Tel Aviv, well, just rest, okay? But there are also links, okay, here, there's a link with the must visit, the attractions there, okay? So multimodality, different, they add content, different layers of content to an image. Okay, I see that you're adding, what's been added here? A link to a doc, Genially, yeah, right, okay. Wonderful. So let's go on now. Okay. So this can be used as an introduction to descriptive writing, okay? Before they write a paragraph, they build their vocabulary together, and then you say, okay, you can also use it for a discussion on different perspectives, okay? The group in America, which words have been added by the group in America and the words that have been added by us, or diversity within the classroom itself, of course, okay? And then have them write a paragraph using 5 words from this activity. Now, the same can be done individually by students with ThinkLink, okay? They could add hotspots to a new word from the vocabulary list, the word that they have already learned, that they have added to the to the Google Doc that we saw before. Then they can create a ThinkLink of their own. Okay, it's very similar to Genially, and you can ask them to add an example with a picture and also synonyms, and find a video that illustrates the meaning of that word. And again, this fosters ownership. Then each of these ThinkLink creations can be added to a different slide in a Google slide presentation, and then you can have a Google slide presentation created by all of them with with each student focusing on a different word and being sorry, not this yet, okay, and being the expert in that word, okay? This is what is called distributed expertise. So you can take a look at this later on if you are interested in this activity. There are more details here. Okay, for oral skills, for relevancy, I've always had students also when being in schools, have students report on current events, okay, and learn and build vocabulary this way. But what is important about this is to encourage active listening, not to have students talk and talk and talk and then have and how do you know that they are learning? How do you know that they are listening? So I would use again Google Docs for this activity for active learning. I created these tables, and then they had to write their name and pick and write a question that they would like to ask the student that they are presenting, that is presenting the piece of news. One word to remember. Pick one word from all that you've heard that you want to remember, that you want to learn, and one main idea. Okay, so I see that there's something in the chat, but there can be a column in your table for the year for links. What do you mean, the link of the activity itself? Thank you, Laurie, for providing everyone with the link to Genially, which is really a fantastic tool. Again, Genially is very similar to...
I meant that original, the original table that you put on a Google Doc that runs throughout the year. So when a kid adopts a word.
Wonderful. Yes, definitely. Thank you very much. You see, we are building knowledge together, and this is what needs to be encouraged, okay? Definitely. I'm not the only source of information here at all, of course. There are experts here too. And indeed, hyperlinks. This is what's called hyperlinks. In distance learning, it's very important to have, as I said, easy access to everything. Things need to be, there should be clear instructions and also easy access. So hyperlinks for everything. Very good. Okay, so here's just let me see what time it is, since our time is limited. We started at 4, right? Wow, we're running out of time. So, okay, this is an activity that I did actually in class, but could be used when I was still teaching in school a few years ago for a bridging, as a bridging task for the road not taken. This could be used, wait a second, please. Sorry, oops, not this. Okay, what I did for distributed expertise, what I talked about before, again, knowledge building, having students become experts in something of their choice. Okay, here, for Robert Frost, what I did is just give them the slides with the topics, okay? And then divide them into groups, okay? And have one group work, find information on New England, synthesize it, and share it, okay, with the students. Now take a look at this one, a significant decision in Frost's life. Now, actually, students here had to make use of critical thinking skills. They found it difficult. I remember the exact moment when they discussed this, and I coached them to help them find the content that they would fill in the slide with. Okay, and again, I'm going back to what I said before, the teacher as a facilitator. They find the information and you coach them, okay? You help them find what is right, get to the correct information. Robert Frost, students wanted to add more. They asked me whether they could add the gallery quotes, okay? And this way they created a presentation that they could use later on. This is the gallery that was added by some students on their own initiative, okay, because this, of course, increases motivation. And that's what you want. You want students to do this because they are motivated by inner values. They want to do better, not by only by a grade, okay? So, okay, so I'll go back to the presentation here. Okay. What do you mean by a graphic organizers? What you would like them for to self-monitor what type of work? Laurie has asked a question here, yes?
Yeah, I think it's relevant for learners of all ages, but particularly I'm interested in younger learners how we can help them become more autonomous by self-monitoring and tracking their progress with tasks that were given asynchronously. So that we can encourage them to take responsibility for their learning, and yet it's shared with us so we can also see if they've done the tasks we've given.
Okay. Now, to be honest, this is something that I myself, I'm trying to find the best way to cope with this at Seminar Kibbutzim, because also I had a full semester distance learning, and it was much easier as far as this is concerned in the virtual high school, because I had a small group, okay? But here what I believe could be done is, of course, to use a Google Doc the way that I think Debbie suggested before, okay? And also what I'm exploring now is Google Classroom. Is there anyone here who is familiar with Google Classroom? I think Google Classroom can provide us with the best way to do this. And I'm planning to introduce it this year for this purpose, actually, okay? So here are some ideas for tools. And again, the emphasis is on what we want to use them for. Again, there's a lot of talk on tools, and sometimes it drives me crazy because the focus should not be on the tools. The focus should be on what we want to do with them. Okay, how we can achieve them best. Okay, so if we want to engage students in learning and self-paced learning, then we have Neopod, Peer Deck. We also have Edpuzzle, by the way, which is here in the third row. Edpuzzle is for videos. Students cannot continue watching a video until they give the answer to the question that you've posed. And then, speaking of tracking their work, monitoring, these platforms themselves have a tracking system that can be very useful. Okay, I think Lori asked this question. Check this out. I do recommend you to check Edpuzzle out because it's wonderful for monitoring students' work. Okay, and you can give them feedback. Okay, Mentimeter, as I said before, Padlet, Kaku, Padlet. It's very important to know how to use Padlet again. Okay, there's Padlet. We all know Padlet, but Padlet can be used in different ways for mind mapping if we want. Okay, you can choose a template, a certain type of template because you want students to see one post next to the other, or maybe you don't mind, you want them to see the richness of all the discussion, and then you choose the wall template. That's also a decision that needs to be made all the time. We need to make decisions. Okay, careful planning, that's what I said before. Flipgrid is fantastic, but I will show you more examples here. Okay, wait a second. Yes, okay. And then we'll go back to this. Now, there's an activity here, but I want to see what time it is and see if we have time for it. Okay, maybe briefly, okay. So could you go to, or you know what, I'll leave it for a later stage. What do you say? You know what, we'll use the participant box. Okay, and please do not forget the link. I hope you give, oh, thank you, Debbie. Thank you very much. Now, since we are building knowledge together, and I want to address your needs, what you want to get from me today, please let me know if you want me to give you more examples. The question will be as follows, okay? Say yes. Click on yes in the participant box if you want me to give you more examples, or if you want to first see what ideas you can come up with and build and continue building knowledge together. So do you want me to give more examples now instead of making a break with our activities? Go to the participant. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Any no? It would be fine. It will be fine with me because actually this is what I planned. I know that we need, in these talks, we're supposed to do modeling, okay? But it's really difficult, okay? But as part of the modeling, what I try to do is to engage you in the discussion, not to talk all the time by myself, okay? Number 3, what is number 3? Examples, yes. What do you mean by number 3? I don't get it. Okay, yes, yes, yes. So we'll continue and we'll go back to this, okay? So that we won't run out of time.
You have three: collaboration and knowledge building. So number 3, if you can
Okay.
elaborate more on this point. I mean,
got it. Okay. Now listen, if we run out of time for this, it would be really nice if you could take the time to respond to this later on, so that we'll build knowledge together. We'll have a pool of ideas that we all build, and not just me, okay? Because as I said, I can definitely learn a lot from many of the participants in the audience here, okay? As it happens in a learning community in class too, okay? We can learn from our students, students can learn from their peers, and this needs to be encouraged as part of a knowledge building community. So here's an example for, here are examples for lessons, okay? So, first of all, there was this is actually an activity that was done, this Padlet activity was done for reading comprehension after having read a text from the book that we had. I don't remember which one it was now. Okay, never mind. So vocabulary reading, this could be done asynchronously, definitely, okay? We don't need to have students read out loud unless we want to practice that in class, okay? Again, what's the goal? What do you want to do, okay? Otherwise, they can read by themselves, and then you can work on the HOTS in class. They can learn the vocabulary by themselves with Quizlet, okay? And you can also know which difficulties they have had regarding the lots through forms. Then when you meet in the synchronous session, what you can do is have them work in breakout rooms. And this is actually a text that was wonderful for opinion, okay? Should parents be held accountable for their children's crimes? So I had one group work on the yes arguments, and another group work on the no arguments, and which template did I use here? Can anyone answer? What is this? This is Padlet. We all know Padlet. Which template did I use here? Okay, let me see. Wall, not the wall. Continue trying, please. Let's see if someone knows. Or shall I say the answer? Okay, mind maps. Okay, explore this template. It's worth exploring the template and making the right decisions, as I said before, okay? Before you say, oh yeah, I use this tool, another tool. No, see how you can use it in such a way that it serves your purposes, okay? Now, there is a template for mind maps on a Padlet, okay? So they can connect ideas, they can, and what I did was only create the first 2 posts, okay? And then of course, there's a class that you can have them go back to the main room and discuss this. One resource which I used pretty frequently, and again, I love to introduce items that are relevant to students. Okay? And here we need this more than ever, especially also back then when I was only with my group with students sitting in different parts of the country, okay, and I wanted and they were so shy. So I tried to arouse their interest. So I found these prompts in the New York Learning Network. They post pictures. I think it's done every week. And I would use these pictures for oral brainstorming at the beginning, vocabulary building. Okay, take a look at the picture. Which words come to your mind on Mentimeter or Answer Garden? And then they would work individually. Remember that at the beginning I said that I also had them do individual work in class. Why? Because then I could coach them in real time. They would create a Google Doc for all writing assignments throughout the year, the same Google Doc, and always posting the new assignment at the top so that it would be easy to find them. And by the way, Lori, this is a great way to track for them to track their progress, because in the same Google Doc, they would see their first piece of writing, the second, the third, the fourth, okay, and how much progress they had made throughout the year, okay? So again, this has to do with the way you use the tool. Okay, this is perfect. That is saying with insert learning and the pupils do not need an account, just a link, right? Thank you, Debbie. And then sharing the stories and have them read. Now work on reading skills. Have them read the real text, okay, the real piece of news, okay, which appeared in the newspaper, and compare it with what they've done. Another way of connecting students to the world outside their homes, okay, we are all very much in our homes, and we want to create community. We want to get them to keep the same level of interest throughout the year. So those who know me know that I'm a fan of global education. I've always done it, and it's fantastic. This is what I did for the World Read Aloud Day. Okay, these are my students from the virtual high school, together with students from Norway and from the Netherlands. On February the 2nd, you can jot it down if you are interested, okay? And find a class that would be interested in reading aloud on that day, okay? And then they practice oral skills, okay? They have to prepare it in advance. This is Flipgrid. For those who are not familiar with it, it's, in my opinion, a must. It's one of my favorite platforms. It's great for reflection, great for speaking skills, great for building community, for everything, okay? So here's an example of another lesson. By the way, I have the link to the Flipgrid here, if someone is not familiar with it. Okay. You can see this is how it looks. Okay, it's a collaborative board. Students post video responses. Okay, and they can also respond to each other. Insert learning. Okay, Debbie sharing a link here. Fantastic, thank you. Okay, okay, so now I'll just go back to presentation here. Okay, so collaborative board for videos. As I said before, I was going to share a lesson that I did as a follow-up to a unit that we had learned on people who have made a difference. Take a look, this is the model that I shared with you before. Okay, pulse checking, learning material, and also scaffolding for what they are going to do in the breakout rooms, and the reflection. Okay, so what they did in this lesson was to do some research work. Okay, the whole topic was about people who have made a difference. So they had to find a person that had made a difference. They did this in groups. They chose a person that they wanted to find information on. They discussed this orally in the breakout rooms. First of all, we built vocabulary, okay, as you can see here in number 2, okay? How can you describe, which words would you use to describe someone who's influential? And then you have the word cloud, and you tell them, okay, now, when you go to the breakout rooms, use 5 words that are in this word cloud in your slides, as you synthesize the information found in found here. Okay, so wait a second, I will show it to you now. Okay, here's the presentation. This is what my students did. Okay, and some of them have chosen Albert Einstein and Anne Frank, and they learned from each other, and then they shared this orally. Again, some thought should be given to how this can be done in such a way that there is active listening. It's important not to have students share share what they've done one after the other without engaging the others, okay? So this could be done on Flipgrid, for example, later on, and have students pick one figure that they liked learning about and respond to that, okay? Now, Lori has shared the link for Flipgrid. I do recommend it highly, it's fantastic. And if you want to find partners for if you want to find global partners, they have a platform called Grid Pulse, okay? You can post your, I did it a long time ago, and I found a partner, the partner I worked with, as you could see for Seminar Kibbutzim. I had many partners for high school, and I wanted a partner for a college level, and I found my partner there, and we have been working for 4 years already, okay? The second slide, yes, oh, thank you for the question, Katerina, this is so important. Thank you very much. How do you prepare this activity? Okay, we talked about clear instructions, okay, in Padlet. We talked about hyperlinks, okay, also accessibility. Now, instructions should be given orally, and they should also be accessible to them at any time. When you send them to the breakout rooms, okay, you first, before sending them out to the breakout rooms, you show this slide to them, you explain the instructions, and then you share the link to the Google Slides presentation with them. And then when they are in the rooms, they have this slide with them, okay? So they have the instructions, okay? And then they stick to their slide. It's very important to give a name to the slide, to do this in advance. You'll do it. Don't have, you shouldn't have them pick a slide at the moment, otherwise they will overwrite what others have written. How do you make sure all students in the breakout rooms really work? Okay, now I have an answer to this, but maybe someone here can answer this too, and then I will tell you what I think in the chat box, or you can unmute your microphone and then I will hear your voices. It will be nice. Any idea? How do you know the students in the breakout rooms are really working?
Susan.
Yes.
Tell me, please, how much time does it take to work on such a project that you give them? So how much time you gave them to do it? Did
okay.
You give them,
Now, look, I would
so
have,
I mean, all in all, I understand that they worked also offline.
yes,
not only
I taught,
yes,
I taught in the virtual high school, I taught a youth class, okay? So we had 4 hours a week and we would meet twice a week, okay? So this would be done in one lesson, which is made up of two lessons actually, an hour and a half, okay? And then we would have the first half devoted to vocabulary building, connecting, okay? The second part, breakout rooms or individual work, okay? Again, speaking of structure, this is also something that I had to figure out, how to distribute, how to make the most of the time I had, an hour and a half, okay? Two lessons, okay? That could be a lot, by the way, okay? So if you don't need it, then you can have them, then don't use, as I said before, balance synchronous with asynchronous work, okay? But since I didn't have the possibility to do asynchronous work at the virtual high school, they wouldn't allow us to, it wouldn't count, which is a shame, okay, because it should, okay? It's, there are just different modalities of learning, okay? So what I had a full hour and a half, okay? And so I would divide them in like 3 parts: beginning, introduction, building community, second part, breakout rooms, individual work, okay? Implementation of what they had learned, okay? Exploring, doing things, have them do things. And then in the third part, sharing, wrapping up, reflection. Okay, so I hope this answers your question. Now,
thanks.
Okay, in answer to the question here, how do you make sure all the students in the breakout rooms really work? Now, that's why we need to, there are 2 things that you can do. Number 1, join them, okay? You don't stay here in the main room and do nothing, okay? I really worked hard. And then, because I would try and have enough time to go from one group to the other, okay? Divide them into, you know, a number of rooms that can be handled by you, not in many rooms, okay? So also, this is part of the considerations that need to be taken into account. How many students in each group, but also how many rooms can you handle, okay? So, and then you can go from one room to the other, okay? And then they know that you can pop in unexpectedly, okay? And this is really, they would really find this funny, okay? Because indeed, we live in it's all really weird, okay? We can suddenly join them, okay, out of nowhere, okay? So they need to be ready. And then they would ask questions, and then they would need to be ready to show me what they had done by then. Another way of monitoring this is taking a look at the slides. Have they started to work or not? This is visible. And this is the added value that I said before. This is what of technology. This is what Google Slides is doing, scaffolding the learning, making it visible to everyone. I can say, wow, this group number 5 has written nothing. So we will go and join them now. Okay, I hope this has answered your question, Efrat. And now I will go back to this. Okay, so to sum up, but I would like to see if we have time for the activity. No, until 5:30, right? Okay, so, okay, great, Efrat. I'm happy that this has answered your question. Now, I would like you to go to menti.com and see which idea, think of one idea that you take away from this session, one insight that you have gained. How can this, what has this made you think of in preparation for the upcoming year? Has it been relevant to you? One thing that you have found relevant, useful, an insight, a comment, okay? Oh, sorry. You need to exit to end the show and go back to the Chrome Explorer, okay? Okay, so here you can see the Mentimeter for those of you who are not familiar with it. Also, in my opinion, a must for engagement. Okay, really.
What?
Yes.
Is it the same code or a new one?
It's the same code. Okay, as you can see,
Okay.
this is what I wanted to show you. That I created one, it's like a presentation. Okay, I used the first slide before. Okay, and now I can see more responses, which is really interesting. Okay, 8 have learned a lot. 9
Can I
need
make
lot
a
of
little
learning.
comment?
Yes, sure. Who is
Somebody-
that? Can you tell me what your name is, please?
Debbie,
Yes, Debbie.
I have a learning disability and I can't remember numbers and I'm working on my phone. Somebody before had asked, what's the number? Can you say it? And I really related to that person because I was lucky enough to be ready to put the number when you read it. But you know, now I didn't manage to do it because I closed the Menti and I couldn't remember what the number was.
Yes.
And I couldn't go back and forth. So it's important to read out the number a few times for us LD.
Yes. However, if you allow me to say something that may be of help, okay. What I was trying to do is get to the presentation, because the moment I get to the presentation, the number is here right in front of your eyes. Okay, and from the reflection at the end of the year, indeed, the fact that everything is here right in front of your eyes,
But
and not just
not
said
if you're
orally.
working on one telephone, Susanna, because in order to get to Menti, I have to leave the Zoom, and then I can no longer see because I'm working on my phone.
How are you using the Zoom on your computer or on the cell phone?
No, my telephone.
Ah, okay. Well, so listen. Of course, this is only logical. Okay, here in these conferences, I also do it. Sometimes I'm in the kitchen. Okay, but of course, students, as I said before, need to get used to finding a place where they can work, and they need to do this with their computers, okay? It's important to get them trained to work with their computers, not with the cell phone. They won't be able to do many of the things with their cell phones. It's limited, okay? And we want them to, of course, this is another issue, whether there are enough computers at home, okay? This is another issue together, okay? But of course, we want them to use computers, and this should be emphasized at the beginning of the year, okay? And the cell phone for Menti, etc. Okay, so technology, what do you mean by technology? Tools, you have learned new tools. If you want to unmute the microphone, whoever has written this, even though how we emphasized at the beginning, and he was right, totally right, that this is anonymous. You don't need to, but you can invite them to add something orally now. They don't need to do it, okay? They can keep this anonymous. So lack of participation, what do you mean by that? Also, if one of you wants to unmute the microphone.
Some students join the lesson and they just don't participate.
Exactly.
They present, but they are not working, let's say.
Exactly. I had the same problem, believe me. Okay, and as I said before, it would drive me crazy because I couldn't even speak to the student, okay, because the student would be speaking to someone sitting next to him or her, okay. So again, this is why it's so important to have all these type of activities in which you engage them, okay, not only anonymously, okay, because then they could get away with it and not participate, okay, but also have them work in a more personal way with any of the activities presented before, okay? Evaluation, yes, also formative assessment, it's very important. Confusion, wow, I would like to, to understand this better. If the person who wrote this wants to expand on this, that would be nice. Large groups, yes. Okay, people's motivation, my frustration. Okay, can anyone, I would like to have anyone who wrote, any of these participants, whoever wrote my frustration or confusion, if you can please share your frustration, your confusion with us now, and then probably we can address it. It would be really, I think it could be, hopefully, it could be helpful. Students faking it, okay, yes, that's a problem. That's indeed a problem. Can anyone expand on any of the answers here? Or can anyone give any idea on how to cope with these problems?
I can answer. I can say something. I wrote preparation because for me it's...
sorry, who is it?
Monica.
Monica, what did you write?
I wrote preparation because for me it's, I found myself writing my lessons like I used to do at the beginning when I started teaching. After 30 years, I had to make up like a summary of my lesson. I have to motivate the pupils to create something that motivates the pupils, and then they collaborate between each other, because without collaboration, nothing works.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's it takes time. You need to motivate them. That's why relevancy is important. Okay, connecting, creating the, a sense of being a real member of a community and not just watching the broadcasting of a program, okay, on TV. It's very important. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to add to what has been said already? Any idea on how to deal with any of these issues that have been raised, or anyone who would like to expand on what has been shared here? Screen overload. That's an interesting one, and I would like to address this one. This is a very important, okay? That,
I have a little contribution to make.
Yes, please. Who is it?
This is Joanna.
Okay, yes, please, Joanna.
when I came across problems with lack of participation, I found that my role as a teacher had to take on another dimension, and that is of being a mechanechet, in the sense of having individual telephone conversations or even FaceTimes with students and much more contact with parents. So it actually assisted my establishing much more one-on-one relationships with students, but it was very, very time consuming, including having to call parents to get kids out of bed in the morning and you name it.
By the way, this is related to what I said before, connecting. If we don't manage to connect, okay, then with them, with their parents, and this is I believe one of the biggest challenges here, okay, then it's difficult to have them participate in anything at all. So have them get the feeling that you care, that again, it's not just a screen, that you're a real person, and that when you see that they do not work, then you call them. There's a lot of work needs to be done at the beginning to build community and also to build, to create these important connections. Any other, I want to relate to screen overload, since this is very important when we're talking about digital pedagogy and how to use the tools, how to use the platforms. There should be, the instructions should be very concise. There shouldn't be too much text, okay? Try to minimize the number of words that you use. They won't read all the long instructions, they won't, okay? So keep them short, keep it simple, okay? And clear, very, very clear. And say them out loud also, as I think Debbie said before, also saying things out loud and also writing them, okay? Okay, does anyone else want to add anything to this? Collaboration, attendance, involvement, motivation, okay. Okay, so anyone else? Okay, so I will continue. Just a second. Got stuck for a minute. There is no place, so I guess that is how we get it. Is when share with my stuff. I will send you you will get the PPT for sure. Okay, through the Maxuz Tzafon. I am uploading it on a shared on a shared folder. Okay, so here's where we were, right? Okay, so to sum this up, what are the key points that I would like to stress here? A careful design process. There's, as I said before, we are facilitators and designers, and we need to make decisions all the time, okay? Whether this, we want to make the learning visible to everyone or anonymous, whether one template will be more suitable to my needs also, in order not to create visual overload, okay? So that things will be, all the posts will be seen clearly, or maybe another, we want a template that allows for a dialogue, for asynchronous dialogue, for example. A blended approach, relevance, that's what helped me, as I said before, to arouse interest, okay? You know, when they see all these, when they talk about news, when they take a picture during the week on of something that has happened to them, and they have fun, you know, just using filters, whatever, and then they add a sentence in which they use the structure, the tense that they have learned. Then this makes all the difference. This creates motivation, and it's all done in the WhatsApp group. Try to use all the platforms that you have at your disposal. Flexibility, as I said before, a lot of flexibility, clear instructions, community building, and gradual familiarization. It's important not to overwhelm them, not to be overwhelmed yourselves, okay? Get and have, you know, like, as I said, like 2 to 4 tools. As I said before, Google Docs is a tool that I use throughout the year for writing assignments and for sharing the piece of, and for building vocabulary, for the pool of words, and for sharing a piece of news. I use Google Docs for these 3 goals, pedagogical goals, okay? So they got familiar with them, they knew how to use them effectively. Also Padlet is very highly recommended. Mentimeter, and every now and then bring in variety to the table, okay? There are platforms like ListenWise, which is great for listening comprehension, okay? And others for platforms for reading comprehension too. And timely feedback. As you say, timely feedback has to do with establishing connections and being kind to yourself, to others, understanding how difficult all this is for our students. Okay, so it's very important to, as you know, there's a lot of talk, maybe you have heard about SEL, social emotional learning. And I wonder many times why there isn't a term. Well, actually there is, well-being for the teachers. There should be much more talk about the well-being of our well-being, okay, as teachers, and how we are coping, how we are managing with all this. And it's important to give each other a pat on the back and try to also collaborate with our colleagues. Share, as someone said, I want to share this with my staff. I want to share this with my department. Share ideas that work for you, that you think are useful. I think we have run out of time, have we? Yes. So if anyone wants to say one thing, okay, since I would like to hear 1 or 2 more voices, it would be really nice. Otherwise, we'll just end the session here.
I'm just saying I am not really from the north. I guess that makes me a mistanenet, even though I live on the northern border of Lebanon, but I'm a reed teacher. So I don't have access to would it still be possible? Because I really want to share this with my...
Okay, here's my mail. Here's my oh, have I stopped? Sorry.
I have to find a place to write it.
Okay, wait a second. I'm writing my email address here in the chat box. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely you can contact me, okay? And I will send you the PPT. I will send you the recording also. It's important to share, to spread the word. I'm really very happy to be able to share all this with you. Indeed, when I did this 4 years ago, you know, people did not understand what I was doing. It was pretty frustrating. There was nothing to build on. Okay, eventually the class was shut down, okay, because of the high dropout rate, because we didn't have much support in the schools, okay? The managers did not know, you see what they missed back then, okay, because they could be ready for this, okay? So there was not enough money for this, okay? And it's a shame, because indeed, this is part of, getting ready for being ready for the century we are in already, the 21st century pedagogical approach. So when we go back to the classes, we'll all have gained a lot. So thank you very much. If you still want to say something, I'm still here, okay, for a few minutes more, really helpful. Thank you. Okay, thank you all. Thanks for joining me today, and good luck. Good luck to us all.
Thank you.
Here.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you a lot.
A big virtual hug to everyone.
Bye.
Oh,
Susan,
okay,
do you need us
sorry.
to fill a form?
Sorry?
Do you need us to fill a form?
Oh, yes, thank you. Okay, please do. Okay, I will post it again. Here's the form. Wait a second, please. Here, thank you so much. It's
Susan, can't you send the matzeget?
Sure. I already said that it will be in their site, and you can also contact me, okay? And I will send it to you, okay? Now, it's at the beginning of the, go to the chat box, okay? I posted the link at the very beginning, okay? The link for the Mashov, please